What a surprise that was. Erling Haaland is still good at football, it appears. He loves a goal at the London Stadium, as the Manchester City, a 3-1 defeat, relatively conservative margin of loss for West Ham. If recent history against City, especially at home, is anything to go by, thoroughly expected. But James Jones is no doubt going to fill me in on exactly why we should be filled with thoughts of positivity, because it was so much better than last season, even though we lost to the reigning champions and the likely champions in waiting. Jonesy, wonderful to see you again. West Ham 13th in the Premier League table, played 3-1-1, lost 2, -1 goal difference, about one place below where I think we're going to finish this season. So we're tracking as I expected. How are you? How's things? We'll get onto the game shortly, I suppose. But did you, were you one of those sort of proper upbeat people after the game? Oh, look, I know we lost, but yeah, it's all right. It's all I want is just to see West Ham turn up and have a go. It's all I want. Loads of tweets like that, I saw.
That's pretty much how I felt, to be fair, mate. I thought I enjoyed the game. I felt like there were stages in the game where we had Manchester City. I wouldn't say worried, but like, other teams know how to play football as well. This is new. We hit the woodwork twice. One was via a very good save from Edison at the end from Somerville. Could have hit the post. Should have rescored, but good effort. I thought they were tight. Like, at the end of the day, like Man City, they got a robot up front, and they will win the league again, no doubt. And that's all there is to it. They are the best team in the world for a reason. They have the world's best players that know how to deal with different situations at different stages of the game.
Very adaptable, aren't they?
And they adapt, and when the other team decides to get a little bit brave and start playing a bit of football, they go, well, okay, we'll take your style of football and we'll raise it by 10, and exactly what they do every single game. And that's why they are the best in the world. That's 3 games in a row where we've only lost to them by 3-1. It's 3-1 in the last 3 games. And you have to look at the positives in that situation and go, we didn't sit back for 90 minutes and barely have a shot on goal. We had 10 shots on goal against Manchester City.
I owe this 2 weeks in a row. We didn't have 10 shots on goal. We had 10 shots. A shot.
You don't, like I said to you last week, you don't shoot at the corner flag. You shoot on goal. You shoot on goal. Whether it goes on target or not, it's a different matter.
No, we'll just call them shots. Differentiate between shots and shots on target, because it's fake news otherwise if you call it shot on goal.
Okay, I'll just change one word. We had shots at goal. We had 10 shots at goal.
Yeah, and 2 of them hit the target.
2 of them hit the target. 1 of them hit the back of the net.
Well, I genuinely don't think that counts. Seriously, I don't think that counts because it was an own goal. I honestly don't think that counts. Like you can win a game, can't you, with 0 shots on target?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think you're right, but I think that's the most attempted shots that we've had against Manchester City since their takeover, which is saying something. So I think that is a positive. You have to see that as a positive. There wasn't a single player on the pitch that put in a performance where I was like, oh, that was a little bit iffy. I thought everyone played pretty well. I walked out of that ground and just thought, well, okay, that was kind of half expected, but also I'm quite happy with it. If it's possible to be happy about losing, but it was like, well, that wasn't bad.
No, well, that's precisely it, mate. That's what I think is rubbish about the Premier League these days, right? Or I don't know if it's the Premier League, but like Man City in particular. It's I fully disengage from Manchester City games when West Ham play them. Like I honestly I'm just like, oh, what's the point? Like in the build up, obviously you sort of try and make it a bit funner, a bit interesting, but realistically, I know David Mooney from the Blue Moon podcast kindly come on late on Friday night to do an opposition view. and he's always good. And as all City fans, I go, well, we do drop some points, and it's like, yeah, but almost never against West Ham, and almost never against anyone. And I don't know. I've said this before on here, right? But I find in the old days at Upton Park, when Manchester United were all conquering, they weren't as all conquering as Man City were. And while they used to turn up fairly often and give us a 4-0 thumping at Upton Park on the reg, and we wouldn't ever get much at Old Trafford. Especially at Upton Park, it always felt like we had a chance. I never went into it just like, what's the point? But I honestly do with Man City games. I just think, what is the point? And so like I do also find it a bit hard when we lose 3-1 to go, I know that's all we've got. All we've got is to look at positives and how you felt after the game and the performance. But yeah, I do sort of feel like it's supposed to be the best league in the world, but it actually isn't, and everyone laughs at the Bundesliga, don't they, and La Liga. Like, the Premier League is no different to that. Man City will probably win the title for the 5th year on the bounce, and the top 3 will be Liverpool and Arsenal again. Like, there isn't loads. It's not that competitive, is it? And I just find it a little bit difficult. I genuinely get more excited if we were like, I enjoyed the Crystal Palace podcast more last week because there was a bit of jeopardy in it. You sort of thought, we could win, but we could also lose. And that's what you'd think if it was the best league in the world. It'd be like most games. Because there certainly isn't any this season I'm going into thinking we're going to win this. No worries.
Yeah, I get that. I think City aside, every other team in the Premier League go, yeah, we've got a chance. Like, we beat Arsenal last year a couple of times. Liverpool at home, we always give them a test.
Yeah.
Anfield's always a write-off. And then, Chelsea, especially now, Man United, especially now, you go into those games and go, yeah, we can beat them. We beat Chelsea at home last year. So it's literally just Man City, and they're the team that win the league every year. And it's like, okay, well,
yeah,
and
but that is rubbish, isn't it?
That is rubbish. But we say it every year as well. I think that the results against these sides aren't going to define our season. It's the results against the other teams. And I think we've played 2 of those other teams. We've lost 1 late and we've won 1. So it's like, okay, well, we'll just put that one aside. We knew we were going to lose this one.
Yeah.
We haven't lost it in a manner that's embarrassing or that has heavily reduced our or affected our goal difference. So we go, okay, well, that wasn't that bad. We move on. It was a game we knew we were going to lose. We didn't lose it. We lost it in a way that didn't disgrace ourselves. So we'll just move on.
I do agree with you. I just find it just a bit bleak, isn't it? That's what you're like. Everyone goes in certain we're going to lose, and I just think that's a bit pants. But anyway, yeah, you're totally right. And I just said to you then, I just sort of nodded in agreement. I don't actually believe that that statement about results against these teams don't define your season, because ultimately the win we got at the Emirates last year, was just as important as any of the wins at home that we expected. You get the same amount of points and all that. But I do take your point generally about City. I just find it all a bit grim and a bit bleak. Right, before we go on, do the minutiae of the game, James. Couple of things. You were celeb hunted at the weekend, were you not? Load of autographs swamping you in the secret pub before the game. Absolutely mobbed with fans of We Are West Ham, or fan.
Singular, yeah, just the one fan. It was a pleasure to finally meet Jim Oddie. Regularly emails in to the podcast, a regular listener. A real pleasure to meet Jim for the first time. Said you don't look anything like you do in the flesh than you do on the YouTube channel, which I thought was.
Is that a positive though, or a negative?
I'd like to think it is, but yeah. But that was interesting. But no, we had a good chat over a beer, and yeah, it was really nice to meet Jim. Real pleasure, and hopefully we can do that more regularly.
Yeah, well, he has emailed in. wearewesthampod@gmail.com. If any of you fancy getting in touch, the old-fashioned way on an email. Evening, guys. First of all, can I say how good it was to meet James yesterday? It made my afternoon. Lovely stuff, James. Lovely stuff, Jim, as well. After giving City the first goal, which was very disappointing, I thought we stuck to our task well and got a slice of luck we needed for the goal. Unfortunately, Haaland had other ideas, and the second goal was very special. Thought we did well in the second half until the third, where we all thought Mavropanos should have fouled the guy and take one for the team to get a booking. But I thought Bowen, Kudus, Alvarez, and Wan-Bissaka played very well. We just need to cut out the individual errors in the defensive third. James, this is an interesting point. I want to touch on this with you a bit later in the pod. On the League Cup, we all agree with you, James, that giving European teams a home draw is outrageous and should not be allowed. Still, we have 2 weeks off now, so hopefully we have time to bed in some of the two players. We're still massive comedy irons from Jim. You know what? That's how sort of much that marked on my radar. I've introduced a whole podcast and chat about Man City. And I totally forgot the fact that we'd actually beaten Bournemouth and we're through to the League Cup. And that has happened because we got Liverpool away. And I'm just like, what is the point? What is the point of this? I'm all for a proper transformation of the League Cup so that the teams who qualify for Europe aren't in it. And then it makes it really interesting and really exciting. But we all know that the League Cup organisers, there's no in 1,000 years they're going to do that, because the only way they ever get eyes on the competition is when the big teams are playing. So once again, it's one of those things that would be absolutely brilliant and I think a real much needed thing for football fans. But there's no way in 1,000 years it'll happen because, capitalist ideals of money coming first before anything else, which are all of the things that ruin our beloved game of football and erode the fan experience, will take precedent again. And it's annoying, but rigging the draw like you're suggesting is just mental.
I feel quite strongly about this. I actually tweeted before the Bournemouth game, I tweeted, went semi-viral, that it's probably about it's probably about time now that European clubs are getting a bit of advantage.
What's the line for viral?
I don't really know. I don't really know, but I was watching the likes and the retweets and all the comments go up to a point where it was in the several hundreds for all of it. Yeah. Going with this, I don't think I've gone global yet, but I'm almost
there. I'm like national-ish.
Yeah,
regionally viral.
It kicked off after the draw, but I did it before the game, and they were on the TV. They were showing how the draw works, and I was like, it's probably about time we reform the League Cup if we're just going to start giving these teams even more advantage than they already have.
Yeah, exactly. It's rubbish, isn't it?
And then obviously we draw Liverpool away, and it was like, well, that was coming. We knew that was going to happen. It was either going to be Liverpool or Man United or Man City. And the general the general response from people that got involved in that was, no one moans. They already get a buy into the third round anyway. No one moans about that. And it's like, well, that's the advantage they get, right? They not only are they the best teams in the country because they're playing in Europe, but they also get a buy into the third round. Yeah. Okay, so there's another advantage they get, and now you're helping even more by giving them home draws and technically a buy to the fourth round as well, because you're basically saying you're not going to play each other. And it's
which is so stupid. Yeah,
and so you get a lot of the fans of these clubs going, well, they were going, oh well, you can't expect us to play 2 games in 2 days or 3 days. It's like, well, just don't play in the competition then. You don't need it. You don't even want to win it. You win it every year, even though you don't want to win it. You should. We've had the best part of 7 years or even 9 years of Jurgen Klopp moaning about fixture congestion.
Yeah.
And here's your opportunity to just allay that. You've even got 2 more games in Europe, which is what these clubs wanted with the Super League. They wanted more games in Europe. They finally got it, but then they get a buy in technically, or they get a seeded draw in the League Cup, and it's just. I think the League Cup would be far better without teams in Europe. You get a new winner every year, because if you win it, you get into Europe, which means you don't play in the League Cup the following year, but your reward is Europe. That means that you get a new winner every year. You get potentially teams in the Championship potentially winning it as well, because there's more incentive for them to go on.
Or at least get into like quarters and semis.
Quarters or the semis, yeah. But then I had a lot of people go, yeah, but it devalues the competition without the big clubs. Well, no, I don't think that's true. I think it devalues the competition by seeding them to give them easy draws early in the competition, just because they play in Europe, because they're the best teams in the country. And there are also other big clubs in the country that aren't playing in Europe. Newcastle are a big club. West Ham are a big club. Everton are big clubs.
Everton,
some of these teams have bigger stadiums than the so-called top six.
Of course.
So to say that the League Cup
you got Leeds and Sheffield United, the Sheffield clubs in the the Championship.
Nottingham Forest, they've got 2 European Cups. So Villa, I know Villa in the Champions League, but there are going to be years when the likes of Villa, Chelsea, Man United are going to play in the League Cup if you reformed it this way. So to say that, it wouldn't be fair on the League Two clubs that won't get a big away day at Old Trafford. Well, the likelihood is they probably will every now and then, because Man United aren't going to, the way they are at the moment, they're not going to be in Europe every year. But something needs to be done, because you can't go around fixing draws like that. It heavily devalues either that or just scrap the League Cup altogether. I don't think anyone would be that bothered about it anyway.
But that's what I mean. They're going to do that even less than they are. There's less chance of them doing that than there is of booting the big teams out. But everyone, I think fans of all football teams would agree that reform is needed, not the political party, I'd just like to add. But reform of the League Cup is required. But if you asked every football fan in the land, I think even the fans of the big clubs wouldn't say, I think we should give the really successful good teams a home draw. That's what I think, that's the way to sort this out. I don't think any football fan is saying that. And it's just, and all it serves to do, isn't it? I get annoyed enough when West Ham get drawn against Man United away 4 times a season, even though there's only 2 domestic cups. Somehow we still manage to do it. I get annoyed at that when, it's a normal draw then. It's just as much chance of you getting Oxford away. So when it's no, now mathematically it's literally more likely that you're going to get one of these. It's well, what's the point? Why is West Ham's goals and desires for the season less valid than Liverpool's, or less important than Liverpool's? Why have we got to travel the other end of the country in the middle of the week? Because we didn't get into Europe. We want to get into Europe again, and this is going to make it harder. It's just yet another move to solidify things and cement the status quo for the big sides, and that sort of stuff. And again, I don't want to get too boring about it, but that is what businesses do, big corporate businesses do in the business world. They try and cement a monopoly as much as they can, don't they? But almost all principles that apply and are effective in the business world, almost all of them, when applied to football, erode the fan experience for football and erode the quality of competition and erode the quality of the league. The more the Premier League is referred to as a product, and I'm that is gross. What are you talking about? What do you mean the Premier League product? Shut up. The product is fans of football teams in England going to passionately support their teams and loving the game of football, as much as any other country's population in the world do. Do you know what I mean? I'm not saying more, because I think that's disingenuous to people. People in Brazil wouldn't have that. People in Argentina wouldn't have it. And various countries across Europe. But that's where this whole thing is born out of. People really caring about their club and their team, twinned with really high levels of competition. All the historic stories over the years of Arsenal winning the league on the last day at Anfield with Mickey Thomas. I'm talking about, West Ham winning the FA Cup, different teams all winning the FA Cup every year. All of that magic, that's what the Premier League is born out of. And to just sort of I don't know, bastardize all that and try and cement the status quo of the big teams that have only become big off the back of like the past, when the level of equal competition and the passion of the fans was so high. That's where the success of the product comes from. To try and do that artificially, which does feel that's what's happening a lot nowadays. Generally, I'm not saying all grounds, but generally atmospheres in grounds are loads worse. Everything's watered down so much more, isn't it? No Tottenham fan, as great as their stadium is, will tell you that, like the passion and the atmosphere and stuff is better in their new ground than it was in the old ground. And that is, because 30% of the stadium or whatever is corporate, and you've got one-off match day guests and stuff like that. And we're seeing at the moment with West Ham with the tickets, and not just at West Ham, but across the country, all of the stuff that made the Premier League what it is and made it so good is just slowly, it's micro erosions. That's what it is. And that's how it happens. All of it. And you sort of, you kind of shrug it off at the time and you don't feel like it's too bad. But then over a space of 5 or 10 years, the thing that you once loved has changed so drastically. And it's a similar thing with the tickets, right? It's micro erosions. There'll be some sort of agreement or whatever, or maybe there won't be, but some sort of parity with this ticket thing, and that'll be okay for now. And people will go, oh, well, it's not too bad, but it is an erosion, but it's not too bad. Fine. There'll be another little one in a couple of years, and the same thing is happening to the game we all love. Like, who cares about the League Cup anymore now? Like, and again, games against Man City, you slowly let all this big money in because the people who make decisions at the time, it's financially lucrative to them. So that slowly gets let in and let in and let in. And then before you know it, you've got City winning the Premier League 5 times in a row, which, genuinely, if that happened in the old days, and like when Arsenal went unbeaten, right? And when Man City won the treble in Man United won the treble in 99, that was like, the whole world was like, what a monumental sporting achievement. Not that didn't, before anyone says, not that didn't come with, or as a result of Manchester United's large financial power, which they did have. But that had come partially, at least, off of previous organic success. When Man City win the treble, and like most people are just like, oh, right. And it's like, yeah, because they had all the money. Like, no one cares. People care about football less nowadays because it's so much less about natural competition, because that's the magic of it. That's why the whole thing became so profitable in the first place. And the more you erode that, I'm convinced the less profitable it becomes eventually. Perhaps not in the short term, but long term, I don't know how people will continue to care about the Premier League anymore when all the essence of it, the passion and all of that stuff, has just been gradually eroded. I just don't see how that happens. And I'm talking maybe 15, 20 years time. Do you know what I mean? This was an unexpected rant, but I just feel really passionate about it. And I just sort of, there's so many things now football fans are forced to go, oh, that's crap. But oh, yeah, like the essence of football nowadays is that crap things continue to happen to fans.
Yeah, I think within 15 to 20 years, football in Europe, especially, probably globally, will be completely unrecognisable in terms of the way that these teams compete against each other. Like you said, it already is, but recognisable to now. I mean, I refuse to accept that the whole Super League concept has gone away forever. I mean, they've reformed the European competitions as a byproduct of what that Super League was going to look like.
Exactly that. And they basically are.
Going,
it's the UEFA Super League now, isn't it?
You watch, but the UEFA Super League, right? Eventually, it's the Champions League, Europa League, and Conference League now. Within 10 years, it won't be called that. There will be further reforms to those competitions. I'm convinced of it. This is just the start. So that's going to happen. Maybe it's what the game needs, in that, maybe these teams do actually need to break away and do their own thing, and allow the rest of the football world just to crack on and do their own thing. There are a lot of flaws in that. really. Like, how does that work? What does that look like? What does that mean financially? What does it mean for the TV deals? What does it mean for the fans? But I don't see any other way other than it going to be in it's something happening like that, where these super clubs, these clubs with all the money that are owned by, like states and oil barons and God knows what else, end up just doing their own thing and basically taking their toys to play with it somewhere else. And the fans
I was all for it. I was like,
are an afterthought. Yeah, but the fans of those clubs are an afterthought. The fans of West Ham are an afterthought, really. Like the owners do generally do not care about the fans. They are customers to them. Doesn't matter what club you are. The fans of Crystal Palace are customers to the owners of Crystal Palace, right?
Yeah, I don't think it's always.
That's just.
I think there's a balance.
Just the reality. That's just the reality. It's the reality of it. Maybe at some clubs, the feeling might be a little bit different, but generally that's what they are. They're customers on a balance sheet. Who buy tickets and who renew season tickets, who buy shirts, X, Y, Z. That's the road we're going. And the fact that they've decided, it's underlined by the fact that even the League Cup is getting involved. We've had similar controversy with the FA Cup over the last year with the removal of replays, which massively affects.
I didn't hate that, but yeah.
Well, it does massively have a financial knock-on effect to some of the clubs that rely on those replays to get in away, because they get such a large proportion of the match day revenue for those games.
Yeah, but that is typically only 6 or 7 clubs a year.
Maybe
who get big
life
changing or season changing.
But it's that opportunity to, because some of those replays are survival for some of these clubs in the lower leagues. They could get a replay against Man United, or an away game in the third round against Man United at Old Trafford, and get.
That's what I'm saying. It is only probably 6 or 7 or 6. But I know I take your point.
But so we've had that. They've removed replays because the bigger clubs were moaning that there's too many fixtures. So they've had their way on that one. They've had their way with the League Cup. They've got a seeded draw, even though they've already had an advantage by going in the third round. These bigger clubs, even though they moan about the fixtures, have also got their own way, because then they've got more European fixtures, more money. What more are they going to ask for? What else do they want?
Yeah, they're not. They're never going to go. That's enough now. We've got enough money, thanks.
Yeah.
Like, that never
what happened? It's the next thing is overseas league fixtures. There's been a lot of discussion around it recently, and that's what's next. Like it or not, the fans can protest and do whatever they want. We will not stop it. There will be Premier League games being played in Dubai or Saudi Arabia or America or whatever. All these big countries with a lot of money are going to pay for Premier League games or Champions League games or whatever to be played in their country once or twice a year. And the fans, they can kick and scream and shout and do whatever they want. They will not be able to stop it, because they are irrelevant to the people with the money in this game.
One thing I would say on that, so I asked Karen Brady about that a few weeks ago, about the game abroad, and she said she felt it would be really unfair on season ticket holders to deny them a Premier League game, and she would vote, like West Ham would vote, against any proposition that forced teams to do that. She said, no problem if another club wants to do it and they feel it's for the good of the Premier League and teams have the option to opt out, then she would be like, have no problem with that. And that West Ham, would opt out if it meant denying season ticket holders a Premier League game. And she said that they would definitely vote against what's it called? Any proposal that meant every team had no choice but to go and play one. But again, it'll be, like I say, it'll be micro erosions, right? The first one will be almost certainly someone like Chelsea. Like Chelsea will go and play one in America, Todd Bowley, obviously. Against Liverpool, maybe. US owners as well. Chelsea versus Liverpool in America, right? And then you'll probably have
City in the Middle East.
Man City versus Newcastle in the Middle East. Exactly. Yeah, of course. And maybe, like, I don't know where Tony Bloom's from, but like maybe West Ham and Brighton will like play one in Chigwell or something.
Like
like
Epping
David
Forest
Sullivan.
there or something like that.
Yeah, Epping Forest, yeah. over Wanstead Flats.
I'll be up for that.
Oh, dear. But yeah, no, I agree. Listen, we're half an hour in. This is an unexpected intro. I hope you enjoyed that conversation, and let us know what you lot think about it. I'm always sort of bleating on about letting us know, but get in touch. Be worth, from Alex's point of view, he'll clip this up and put it up on socials, maybe to YouTube as well. And let us know in the comments, or send us an email at wearewesthampod@gmail.com. We're at weare_West Ham on Twitter. We are West Ham Pod on Instagram. Interesting conversation, that. Just let us know how you feel about any of the topics we discussed then, be it the League Cup or just the general state of football. We'll be interested to hear from you, and we'll read some of them out on the next podcast we do, which, worth noting, as we always say, me and James have the international breaks off. So no podcast next week. England playing twice, Ireland away and Finland at home. Of 2 games over the international break. So yeah, me and James have a week off. But yeah, let us know. Get in touch on any of those platforms. Let us know what you think about all that stuff. You can send us a voice note. We have still got that thing going, James, haven't we? I think the link's in our Twitter bio. So if
the links in our comments and the Twitter bio, yeah, it's still there. So yeah,
okay,
get involved on
cool.
that.
Yeah. So if you feel like you've got a lot to say on this and can't be asked to write it all out, I understand that. If that's the case, go to our Twitter, send us a voice note. We sort of try to get that thing going, but that will be a very good thing indeed. It'll be interesting to hear from you. We'll play some of them out on next week's pod. Right, James, let's move on. Let's talk about the Man City defeat in a little bit more detail next. Right, we're sort of touching it already, James. Just sort of get to crunch time a little bit. We'll do chronological order, I suppose. One thing I want to touch on, Lucas Paqueta getting quite a lot of grief for his performance. You said in the intro that you didn't think anyone had a particularly bad game. Paqueta's getting a few pelters. A lot of people saying, he sort of forgot that he hasn't already signed for Man City and that he is still playing for West Ham. He's getting like a lot of stick about his touch in the build-up to Haaland's first goal, or City's first goal. Now, I don't know about you, but I think that's a bad pass from Emerson. He was getting the commentator gave it to him, and then he's getting quite a bit on social media from a few West Ham fans. But I thought that's a stinker of a pass from Emerson. All right, maybe he could do a bit better, but he's not that far away. It's far enough away from his body for it to be a bit of a stretch. That's not an easy ball to like control nice and comfortably. And I'm not saying he doesn't deserve a bit of sticking, that he can go missing at times. I understand that, but just on that particular point, I don't think it was his fault.
It is a carbon copy of the goal we conceded against Bournemouth last season when Zuma gave Calvin Phillips his debut. Zuma gave Phillips a dodgy pass. Solanke jumped in, scored within like a minute of the game starting. And everyone blamed Phillips for that. And then that's still used as one of the major errors that Phillips made during his time at West Ham. And it's like, well, no, it was a bad pass from Zuma. Like, it was so obviously it was a bad pass. Same thing happened at the weekend. It was a bad pass from Emerson. Maybe not as bad as Zuma's, but it did make that situation a lot more difficult for Paqueta to handle. He had to stretch for it to get control of the ball. And in today's Premier League games, like that split second can make all the difference in having to stretch for the ball. So it wasn't his fault. Yes, I think you're right. Out of all the players, he probably didn't have the best game. But, he goes missing at stages throughout the season, but then makes up for it with like doing mad flair stuff for other games. And it will go, bloody hell, I can't believe we've got him. How the hell is he still playing for us?
Yeah.
And he does that more than he does when he goes missing. So I think at the end of the day, when you lose a game, naturally fans look for a scapegoat. Regardless of if it's against Man City or not, they look for a reason why we potentially didn't win or didn't get a result. And I think people look at that first goal and kind of just make their own conclusions. Go, well, it must have been because of Paqueta, when actually I didn't think he was terrible. I think it was one of his quieter games, but he wasn't terrible. Fact is, we spent most of the game without the ball, and it was Manchester City. So if he puts that same performance in against Bournemouth or I don't know Everton, people are going, "Oh, Paqueta had a good game." So I don't think it was that bad.
No. I just want to. I love Emerson as well, as everyone knows, but I do think that was on him. That one. I've just noted down here about the two massive De Bruyne chances he had in the first half as well. It's really clever. The one where he almost caught Areola off his guard and just sort of whipped that shot in at the near post. It was a good save from Areola, proper one for the cameras, and he was kind of like making amends for his own iffy positioning, really, wasn't he? But yeah, good save there. And I've written down the two massive De Bruyne chances to talk about, and I can't remember the other one. Can you?
I actually? When you've been talking to me, I'm like, was there two? I don't.
Yeah, there definitely was.
Did he hit the bar, or I can't remember.
Yeah, it could have been that, but I literally only watched the highlights just before we come on the podcast, just to refresh my memory. So yeah, I was sort of hoping you might be able to bail me out. No, apparently not. Obviously Haaland's second goal, not much stopping that really. It's funny because he scores most of his goals, doesn't he? Like within the if you look at a graph which will be available somewhere, the amount of goals he scores are normally almost always, like I'm talking 90+% of them are, if you look aerially, within the width of the two posts and inside the penalty area.
Mm-hmm.
So weirdly, this particular one that we're talking about was actually a little bit outside that, still inside the box, but a little bit wider than we're used to. But what a finish.
Yeah, as soon as it hit the back of the net, everywhere I was sitting, everyone just looked at each other and was just like, yeah it's like, can't do anything about that.
Yeah. Decent.
Not only is it the best strike in the world, but it was an unbelievable finish to go with it. It's kind of just shrug your shoulders and just go, okay, on to the next one then. Let's see what else.
I used to do that when Rooney would play at Upton Park. You'd do that. You'd just be like, I'm actually quite glad I was there to watch that because that was really good.
It's like sometimes you just have to hold your hands up and go, that was a very, very good finish. And there was nothing it wasn't like it was a mistake or it was a dodgy pass or it was just great build up and then a great finish. So not a lot you can do about that one.
No. De Bruyne hit the post, by the way.
Hit the post.
Come back, Doku cut it back to him on the edge of the box, and then he tried to bend it in. It hit the outside of the post. Yeah, could have come close. Should have done better there, really. I thought. He's sort of running down that left channel. Yeah, it feels like one of them where I think at the time you feel like the shot's on and it's a good idea, but actually the angle's narrow. Probably, if you're gonna shoot there, he probably aimed the right thing, like go high, go hard. But ideally, such a dangerous position, you'd hope we could be a bit more clinical, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I think so. I think the ball was running away from him a little bit, which kind of almost forced him to go where he tried, in that sort of near post up into the roof of the net. If it was me, probably would have gone across the keeper, but at that speed and the ball
scored at that end at the London Stadium,
scored at that end, I have scored in that goal. But with the ball at that speed, running away from him a little bit, he probably had no choice but to kind of go where he did. But
maybe.
It's just another one of those. Any other game that goes in, or if it is another inch to the right, it clips the post and goes in rather than clips the post and goes back out. So just unlucky, but it's a great great counter attack from Bowen. Good vision from him to play in Kudus, but just another day.
Yeah, the Somerville come on at the end. He's a bit unlucky, forced a good save out of Edison. What am I talking about?
Edison, Not Edson Alvarez, no, Edison.
Edson Alvarez, no, I don't know what he's doing, saving shots from Somerville. He obviously he had the Bowen goal. Sorry, before that, Bowen goal, Ruben Dias own goal. I felt like any luck we may have sort of been without when Kudus was through, I certainly think it balanced itself out there, because there was literally nothing on, was there? Like Diaz could have just left that, and everyone could have waved at the ball as it went out for a throw in the other side or whatever.
Well, we were all saying when Bowen was running up that right hand wing, like we were going, he's got no support. There's no one running with him. There was literally no one busting the gut to get in the box. And so we just assumed that Bowen would maybe try and hold it up for a little bit, and maybe just wait for a little bit of support or go for a shot. He just crossed it to no one, and luckily Diaz was there to have a bit of a brain fart and put it in. But yeah, it was such a bizarre own goal, because he could have left it, and it would have gone out for a throw in or something.
You can just imagine, can't you, Pep Guardiola at half time being like, "What are you doing? Surely you weren't expecting Mikel Antonio to be behind you, like bearing down a goal, ready to tap it in. Like, why didn't you just leave it?" It's an odd one, that. Antonio's getting a bit of stick. Again, I was surprised. He had less touches than Areola, but then it is against Man City, service, all that sort of stuff. How long until the full crew? Surely after the international break, that switch gets made, doesn't it?
I think so. I wonder whether they're going to be on rotation depending on who we play this season. I think
that would annoy me.
Yeah, I'm looking at it going, he's played Antonio against City probably because for the pace. Because watching Fulcro against Bournemouth, absolute zero pace, like zero pace. There was one moment against Bournemouth where he was 4 yards offside, got played in 4 yards offside, and still lost out to the defender chasing after the ball. It's like, right, okay, well, we know there's one thing we know he hasn't got is pace.
Yeah.
But don't know we're not going to have a lot of the ball. We're going to need players that are going to have a little bit of pace to sort of press a little bit more and close down a little bit more. And I wonder whether that was why he played Antonio. Whereas against teams that we should expect to have more possession, put more balls in the box, he might go for Fulcro for the finishing ability and the aerial ability. But I don't know. That's why I think there might be a bit of rotation. But I think Fulham away up next, I think it is, after the international break. I'd like to see Fulcro from the start in a Premier League game, not a drab Wednesday night first or second round Carabao Cup game against Bournemouth. Let's actually give him a game in which people care, and see what he can do.
Yeah. Quite agree. Anything else to add then, James, on the game? Any thoughts, feelings? I mean, we've sort of covered it fairly intently. I suppose all you can do is find positive signs, but I don't know. Have you got anything else to add? I think
there's been enough over the last 3 games, for me anyway, to suggest that we are heading in the right direction. It's still very early days. Players are still getting used to Lopetegui's style. We have so far played 2 of last season's top 4, one of which are the champions, and the team that finished top of the form table at the back end of last season, away from home. People would have looked at that at the beginning of the season, gone, I think you did as well, going, well, there's a chance that we might not have any wins before October or November.
Yeah, 10 points after 10 games was my...
Yeah, and we've got 3 on the board already. Probably, some people would probably have gone, well, I'll take that after the 3 games that we've got. So I think it's all going to plan at the moment. I agree. A little bit concerned with the situation in defence in terms of cover now.
Definitely,
Aguerd and Zuma have gone, and so we're left with Todibo, who didn't even get on against City, Mavropanos, and Kilman. Kilman's been an unbelievable addition.
Kilman's been great, yeah.
Need another centre back for me. There are rumours that we're bringing in Joel Matip on a free.
Well, that's what I was going to say. We'll do that in the final thoughts bit. We'll have a little bit of a chat about the departures and the arrivals.
Okay.
I'll
put a pin in it.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. Yeah, one thing I will say, James, and you know what? Actually, we'll wait for this in the final thoughts as well, because I'm very excited about something to come. That's sort of my attempt at a cliffhanger to get people to carry on listening to the last 15 minutes. That was the Man City wrap up. Thank God one of them's out the way, and then we've got some decent games to look forward to. Anyway, stay with us. Me and James will have some final thoughts. We'll do a little bit about final few transfer rumours, free agents that may or may not be coming in, and the upcoming games after the international break. Stay with us. Let's start then, mate. First of all, with the sort of departures and the arrivals. Zuma and Aguerd out the door. Aguerd is just a loan, isn't it? He's gone to Real Sociedad, but released a statement on his Instagram, and it certainly doesn't, not with the I can't wait to be back. There was none of that. Very much felt like that's his time at West Ham done. An odd player, come with lots of promise, never really quite sort of hit the heights, I don't think. Obviously, like you mentioned the Conference League win and what a great moment in his career that was. Just sort of never really quite felt like he could hack it. Physically, maybe a little bit lacking. And then I think it was after that failed move, because someone did come in for him, I think from Saudi, and it didn't go through. I think it was last season in January, I think. And it fell through. And then beyond that, he was just terrible. His head wasn't in it, was it? And he really wasn't the one. But Zuma, I think, all in all, pretty good servant, I think. I thought he was, obviously his body started letting him down towards the end badly. But overall, I would say I really thought Kurt Zuma, for the vast majority of his West Ham career, really earned his money.
100%. I think he's probably one of the better centre backs we've had in the Premier League era.
Yeah.
I think it's just a shame that his knees literally gave up on him, didn't they? It's no wonder he found one medical over in Saudi. Shots that he passed the next one. Maybe he didn't. Yeah. No one knows. But I don't know. He's gone on loan, but he's only got 1 year left in his contract, so it's technically a loan with the view of being released at the end of the year. I'm not surprised. You knew he was going to be on the way out. You just knew, there's no way Lopetegui's going to come in and go, definitely my first choice centre half.
No.
It's a shame that it's ended the way it had for him, but definitely up there as one of the best centre backs we've had in the Premier League era. Part of history as well, being in the team that won the Conference League, so it'll always go down in club history.
Yeah.
As will all the other players that left as well. But he was a major part of that run and that competition win. So wish him all the best. Good luck to him earning all that money over there.
Yeah, fair enough, mate. Fair enough. Some of the potential incomings I've seen. So it's obviously only free agents the club can sign now. Mats Hummels, German veteran, formerly, of course, of Borussia Dortmund. Yeah. And Joel Matip, as you mentioned as well. The feeling seems to be some concern around their injury record and stuff like that. James Tompkins, I saw on Twitter earlier, saying bringing Tompkins back on a free is a no-brainer. I was like, no, if you ask me, that is a brainer. Yeah. That's an absolute brainer. Don't worry. I love James Tompkins as much as the next person. I was actually really upset when he left, because we sort of sold him when he was in good form, and I think we only got 12 million quid for him or something. That seemed a bit of an odd one at the time, but he's played about 4 games in 4 years for Crystal Palace or something ridiculous like that. So I don't think we have to worry about that one. What about Carlos Soler, James? Thoughts and feelings about his arrival?
Well, just a quick one on the centre-back situation with those players.
Sorry, go.
At the end of the day, we're now into free agent territory, which means whoever you pick up, like it is, they've either got terrible injury record or they're just not very good. This is why they're still free agents after a summer transfer window's closed. So to start turning your nose up at players like Mats Hummels or Joel Matip because of their injury record is a little bit ridiculous. Like
You
beggars
think?
can't be choosers, but beggars can't be choosers when it comes to this situation. We need a centre back to come in as fourth choice. They're barely going to play. Might play the odd
Yeah.
cup game,
We
depending
ain't
on who
going to
we
play in the League
play.
Cup after the next
Ain't going to
round,
play
are
in the
they?
League Cup, but they might play in the FA Cup, depending on who we draw.
Yeah.
So chances are they're not going to play very, very often. So it doesn't really matter. And if you've got an opportunity to bring in players with the level of experience like Matip or Hummels, you want those people in your dressing room just purely for the mentality and the experience.
Mm.
James Tompkins less so, but the other two, I mean, I think I'd prefer Matip over Hummels just because he is a little bit younger.
Mm.
But either or, like if you get a chance to bring him in on a free and play, then not play, but have that winning mentality around, then go for it.
Yeah.
Like,
I
go
think it'd
for
be
it.
one of them things with Hummels, right? I think it'd be well cool to see him in a West Ham shirt, but then the reality of it would be like he is past it. Like,
Yeah.
wow, Mats Hummels, like what a iconic, like I say legendary, but like proper outstanding elite level German centre back, like a cool player. And watching him in a West Ham shirt would be great. But then you'd be like, yeah, like actually, yeah, there's a reason he's at West Ham now. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Not Borussia Dortmund anymore. Yeah, Matip's a bit of a strange one, really. I just like you say. I just find with players like that, right? Joe Matip, you played for Liverpool. I feel like what would be good now is to sign someone promising or have someone. There's obviously no one in the academy they think is ready to fill that berth. But I know the ship has sailed on this one, but I'd rather go for someone a little bit promising. But then you say that about coming to be fourth choice. You'd expect, wouldn't you, for the season it's going to be Kilman and Todibo. I think Todibo is probably more of a fitness thing. But it's not necessary that they're going to be fourth choice, is it? Like, I don't know how comfortable I'd be. I'd be more than happy with Mavropanos being fourth choice, you know?
Yeah, Mavropanos
Easy.
had good starts to the season, though. He's had a good start to the
Okay,
season.
isn't it? Yeah.
So yeah, but I think the general consensus is that given how good of a start of the season Mavropanos has had, then whoever comes in will be fourth choice.
We have conceded 5 goals in 3 games, but you know.
Yeah, but then obviously Kilman, everyone's raving about, has also been part of that defence.
True.
So yeah,
but
yeah, let's move on to Carlos Soler or Soler.
Soler.
I think it's a good addition. Not entirely sure where he fits in terms of the midfield options that we've got. I know James Ward-Prowse had to leave to make room for him.
Yeah.
Where he fits, whether he's a regular starter, but I just like the fact that he's come in and immediately gone. I want to help West Ham be bigger than what they already are, and I want to win a trophy here. So, like, players always come and try and big up the new team, but he's kind of gone 2 steps further and gone, we're massive. We're going to be even bigger now. Like, I like it. He seems really happy to be at the club.
27 on loan from PSG.
27.
14 Spain caps.
Yeah, Lopetegui clearly knows about him and feels like he can add a little bit of quality to our midfield. So I think it's a good signing. It seems like people that actually know what they're talking about with who
aren't us.
Yeah. I mean, I don't watch a lot of European football, and I'll be honest, I don't think I've ever seen Carlos Soler kick a ball in vain. So I'm literally going off the word of people that do and have, and they seem the general consensus is that he's a very, very good midfielder. But he's just another player that's been snapped up by PSG when they were trying to buy every single player under the sun, and ended up in a squad of about 70. So naturally, barely played. A little bit like Tito Kehrer.
The Chelsea energy,
yeah. But yeah, so I think it's a good signing. But proof will be in the pudding once I've finally seen him kick a ball, because I've got to wait another 2 weeks for that.
Does this signal the end of Rodriguez's West Ham career before it's even started?
Yeah, maybe. He's now fourth choice centre midfield along with John Matip.
Yeah, because a few people are already not having him, aren't they? I know it's sort of difficult, but a few people are already like not up to it, not going to cut it. Like,
I don't think it's that bad.
The place in the league.
Yeah, I think there might be he's struggling to adapt a little bit, but I don't think he's been terrible.
They struggle to adapt to not having as much time on the ball, don't they? Particularly those continental lighter weight European players. It's not always easy, is it?
if he'd have signed for Barcelona in a team where, like, in a league and a style where it's a lot slower and a lot more chilled out, there'd probably be headlines about him right now going, God, how the hell did they get him on a free? He's unbelievable in that midfield. At West Ham, slightly different in the Premier League.
Yeah, James Ward-Prowse. Then you've touched on him there. I think that's just a bizarre one, that, and I guess it's a Lopetegui thing. Maybe it's because he comes to West Ham and signed for his free kicks and has scored a single one. But I saw something on Twitter. I think Tom Rennie, friend of the podcast, said, a bit of an odd one to let him go, but I do miss the days when every corner we had felt like we had a penalty. And there was a bit of a period for that. I know it's sort of funny to look at the free kicks thing, but he was dangerous from corners and got a few assists. I just thought a perfectly decent squad player to have. To pay, what was it, 30 odd million quid, something like that. Only last summer. I don't think he was ever terrible for West Ham. I think I'd have been perfectly happy to have him. Intrigued to see, Lopetegui, what he finds or what he thinks Rodriguez has got that James Ward-Prowse, who I think has always been a fairly solid professional for us, hasn't.
Yeah, it is a difficult one because he has his set piece threat, and he's relatively safe as houses in possession and kind of a very kind of safe midfielder to have in the squad. But I really liked him, but at the same time, feel like that Lopetegui's had all summer to look at him. He's had a couple of appearances as well this season. Clearly feels like he wants something different from his midfielders. And I think that's evident in the midfielders that he's kept. In the 4 central midfielders we've got now. Very, very, almost the complete opposite to what James Ward-Prowse is. So although I'm sad that he's gone out, he's left, and he's only on loan, but sad that he's gone because I really liked him. Also really loath to question the decision to let him go and almost go, look, Lopetegui come in, he's assessed the squad. He's realised that he wants something a little bit different from his midfielder, so he's let him go. Fine, I'm going to have to trust him on that.
Yeah, fair enough, mate. Right, last little point, Jonesy. One thing I will say, right, I'm coming round, and I know I've been accused of, and probably fair enough, of being a little bit facetious in the first few podcasts of the season. I think the ultimate point was a text from you in all capital letters after the Crystal Palace game. Compare that one to last season. And one thing I will say is, like, my initial thoughts are, like, joking aside, was that all the defence is concerning. But actually, when I think about it, it's like, well, naturally it was. That's what a lot of fans wanted. A lot of fans wanted a bit more attacking football, and I think perhaps where I come at it from was that I obviously wasn't thinking this outwardly, but like, but what about all the defensive fragility you're going to have to give up? And while I do still think that lots of people were just ignoring that willingly, I think there are also lots who go, well, yeah, that's all right. Like, I don't mind. I just want to shift along that scale a little bit more to, actually, like, fine if we concede a few more chances, but perhaps we'll create a few more. And then it's just a bit more of a face-off or a shootout between who can convert the chances more. I do think Aston Villa and Manchester City are good sides. So losing to two teams who finished in last season's top 4, no crime really. And getting the result at Crystal Palace, it's like, well, decent. Obviously, we've got something about us as well. We did concede chances in that game. But what I would say is that my excitement has shifted, right? For after the international break, we've got that out of the way, the first 3. This international break's annoying, isn't it? Because you're just getting into the season. And it's like, hang on, no, stop. But then have a listen to this, right? After the international break, we've got Fulham away on the 14th of September. Great away day, perfectly winnable. Liverpool away in the League Cup, which is a bit annoying. Chelsea at home. Don't look terrible. Bit chaotic behind the scenes, obviously, but always feel like we can give them a game at home. Brentford away, Ipswich at home, Tottenham away, Man United at home, Nottingham Forest away, Everton at home. That takes us up to the 9th of November, right? That is a chunky old run of games to get our teeth into. And I really think that, that we'll be able to tell after that. And then we got Newcastle on November the 23rd, right? And then Arsenal at home. So those two are challenging fixtures where, you wouldn't, if we get a point out of both of those, you'd be like, yeah, decent. So, but up until then, I know I was being a bit bleak about it all, going, we might only get 10 points out of 10 games. And whilst I still think that is a possibility, actually, though, I think it will be a real test, don't you, of who's sort of feeling about this West Ham under Lopetegui is right out of you and I. Do you know what I mean? Like, it could easily be at the end of that where you go, oh yeah, look, I was a bit misguided in my thinking, and that this attacking football is a bit more entertaining. There is a bit more of a feel good feeling around among the fans and the club, and we're onto something good. Or it could be, oh no, actually, like, we want to be a bit more attacking, but we're just not as good as attacking as we'd hoped. And yeah, all those chances we were letting through, actually, yeah, that is a big problem, and we do need to shift back to being a little bit more defensive because we're leaking goals, and that's not sustainable. But I'm excited to find out for the first. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I feel the same. Although, I feel positive about the direction in which we're going. You're right. The next run of fixtures will, like, by the 9th of November, we'll have a better idea of where we are as a football club and what we can realistically expect come the end of the season.
Yeah.
So yeah, like, there's some difficult games in there, but it's going to be a case of, you win your games at home, maybe pick up a couple of points away from home. I think Brentford away is going to be a tough one for us. It always is.
Yeah.
But you're right, Fulham's a winnable
That's true.
game.
They're a new Brighton, aren't they? I forgot about that.
Yeah, Chelsea at home, winnable. Ipswich at home, definitely winnable. Man United at home, 100% winnable. So, like, there's opportunities.
Forest away, Everton at home. Yeah.
Yeah. So all games there, all games where we've beaten those teams in the last couple of years. So we know that we can go in those games and win.
Well, that's it. They will be able to tell whether new era West Ham can go into those big games and come away with a result, because that's what we have been doing, whether you like the style of it or not. The last few years, that has been the mark of David Moyes, isn't it? Of a few big games when we need wins and they'll be really important, he pulls them out of the back, or had them.
Exactly. Yeah, and if we can not lose 5-0 at Fulham, that would be a good start. Like last year.
Yeah, I won't be comparing that one to last season.
No, but yeah, I think that we will see a couple of big results against one of those sort of so-called bigger sides.
Yeah. It could properly go either way, couldn't it? But I actually am excited to find out, and it would be good to see us pull a few results, even just one out of all those, right? Like the Chelsea at home. If you get a draw out of that, that'd be good. That'd be a positive. Brentford away. If you manage to win one of those two, I think that will really set the tone, won't it? It's like, banish this new Brentford curse we appear to have. Or we can nick something off Chelsea. You'd hope to beat Ipswich at home, to be honest. And then Tottenham away. And it'd be interesting to see, because obviously gung-ho Postecoglou, I'm still not buying into that myth of that he's the best thing to happen since sliced bread. But there's a few games there where if we put a decent performance in and get a result, if you win one of those, right, of Chelsea at home, Brentford away, Tottenham away, plus a win against Ipswich, I think 6 points out of that would be all right. Do you know what I mean? And then again, like you say, if you're showing signs of promise in the others, and you both have a load of chances and it's just a shootout on chances and the other team is slightly more clinical, then fair enough. But yeah, exciting stuff, mate. Exciting stuff. Any final thoughts then, James? Enjoyed this podcast. Very very entertaining indeed.
No final thoughts other than I heavily despise the international break. Actually, had no idea who England were playing until you mentioned it earlier. Was it Iceland and Ireland, or
Ireland away, then Finland at home? Yeah.
Oh, Finland, not Iceland. Close.
Mm.
Yeah, and although I will say that Lee Carr's the caretaker England manager, his England squad was very left field. It's like half of his old under-21 squad's gone in. Like Angel Gomez is in there. I've got a lot of time for it. I saw it and I was like, well, blow me down. That is like, yeah, I've got a lot of time for it. And it makes me want to tune in and just see what it's all about. Because a lot of people have raved about the England under-21s over the last few years.
Yeah.
And now we get to see the under-21s play in the first team as a squad, technically. So I'm looking forward to it. And he's dropped Adam Wharton back to the under-21s, which I've got a lot more time for after all the hype that he got over the summer. No disrespect, he's a good player. But
you just hate Palace, don't you?
Might shut those Palace fans up for a little bit longer.
Did you get any grief, by the way?
No, I was massively disappointed. Barely got any views that video.
Oh, really? Oh,
yeah, I was a little bit disappointed. But I was kind of tin hat on, ready to go. Come at me, boys, and nothing happened.
No one interested.
Maybe it's because I was right all along. I did. You know, my barber got in touch. My barber DM'd me on Instagram after he saw it and said, so I completely agree. He's a Man United fan.
Yeah.
And he completely agrees. He says it's about time Palace were put back in their box. So fair enough, man.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, I'm sort of. I've had a real. You know, I was at a lot of the England games in the Euros in the summer, and I feel. And the Southgate as well. I loved England under Southgate, and we've spoke about it before. And I do feel like a sort of real England fan now. Not that I ever was, but you know, before it was very much more major tournaments you get into it. But I'm actually quite looking forward to the next sort of period and what comes with it, and see how well Carsley does. I'm not convinced he's a man for the long term. But then sometimes with international football, you know, lots of the big nations, you never heard of their manager at the beginning of tournaments, but they've come through from the under 21s and then they've won the thing. So,
and no one was convinced when Southgate got the job all those years ago. Everyone went, "What? Give it Gareth Southgate?"
Maybe, yeah.
And then he got relegated, but he got relegated with Middlesbrough, and like, what's going on here? And then he goes and does what he does over 8 years, so 12 years.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to the Finland game, and that's sort of after the Euros. So I was like, I'm gonna get to a few more England games, and like, you know, in the qualifiers as well, because I'm gonna buy into it a little bit. So yeah, great to see Jared in there, of course. So yeah, there we have it. Right, thanks for listening, everyone. Get in touch if you can. International break. Send us a voice notes if you want to. The link to that's in our Twitter bio. Send us an email at wearewesthampod@gmail.com. Get stuck in the comments on YouTube. We Are West Ham Podcast on YouTube. Search and do us a favour, make sure you subscribe. We're on Instagram. We Are West Ham Pod. And you can buy us a coffee if you fancy it. buymeacoffee.com/wearewestham. I think that's about it. If you're interested to hear your thoughts on the League Cup and that little rant we had earlier about the footy, whether you want to talk about England or West Ham or the next period of games and what you think is going to come of it. Interested to hear from all of you. So get in touch on any of our platforms that we've mentioned there. Thanks to Jonesy, as always. Thank you to you guys for listening at home. Hit us up on socials. West Ham going okay. The next little period of games, that next little run of games after the international break, exciting, but will certainly tell us exactly where we are as a football club under Julian Lopetegui. Thanks for listening, everyone. Up the Hammers, West Ham are massive. We'll speak to you after the international break. Cheers.